If you thought Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari was just about chasing one last title, think again. Behind the paddock smiles and post-race interviews, something much bigger is unfolding. Sources close to Maranello say Hamilton has quietly taken control of Ferrari's future. Not in front of the cameras, but behind closed doors where the real power plays happen. And what he brought to the table wasn't a suggestion list or a few setup tips. It was the kind of document that can reshape a Formula One team's DNA. The kind of document that could force Charles Leclerc into a car built for someone else's hands. What Hamilton delivered to Ferrari wasn't just a file. It was a master key to their future. Between Silverstone and Spa, away from the public eye, Hamilton entered a sealed-off technical meeting with a folder under his arm. Inside were not the usual race weekend notes or minor setup tweaks, but an in-depth 2026 development plan that insiders claim Leclerc never even laid eyes on. While the headlines in Hungary obsessed over Hamilton's Q2 elimination and Leclerc's pole position, the real drama was brewing in the quiet corridors of Ferrari's HQ. Juan Pablo Montoya's cryptic warning, "Life will get harder," suddenly felt less like idle speculation and more like a subtle prophecy. This wasn't feedback in the casual sense. The 2026 dossier in Hamilton's hands was a fully fledged engineering directive, a blueprint for the team's next-generation car. Inside were active aerodynamics deployment schedules, hybrid energy distribution strategies, redesigned suspension concepts, even repositioned pedal boxes, and custom steering feedback curves tailored entirely to Hamilton's driving preferences. This wasn't a mid-season adjustment. It was the birth certificate of Ferrari's next era, already stamped with his fingerprints. Leclerc, smiling in front of reporters, assured everyone he was definitely involved in the development process. But involvement is not the same as control. Involvement doesn't earn you unplanned one-on-one meetings with the head of chassis. It doesn't put your name on the front page of a confidential roadmap. And it certainly doesn't give you veto power over gearbox ratios. Hamilton has all three. Sources say the folder he brought to Maranello was more like a technical director's dossier than a driver's wish list. It outlined precise weight balance targets for the slimmer, lighter 2026 chassis, aerodynamic balance recommendations for the new active wing rules, and even a demand for a steering column with adjustable feedback profiles to match his exact feel on corner entry. Brake migration maps were tuned for his aggressive style, loading the front axle hard into slow corners. Every element, from CAD-level schematics to simulator-derived data, pointed to a car designed in his image. Engineers in the room described Hamilton as speaking with unusual technical fluency, referencing airflow separation points, cooling thresholds, and CFD pressure diagrams as though he had been part of the design team for months. One insider was blunt. That meeting wasn't about the car we're racing now. It was about the car Charles will have to get used to, whether he likes it or not. If the meeting itself was bold, the silence that followed was even louder. Ferrari issued no press release about Hamilton's dossier. No glossy team social post hinting at harmony between their two star drivers. The blueprint remained hidden, whispered about by senior engineers, and passed discreetly between design departments. When Leclerc was asked directly if he feared being sidelined, he laughed and claimed he was definitely involved. But in the same breath, he admitted he wasn't producing documents, just giving verbal feedback during his trips to the factory. That's the old reactive way. Easily overlooked, quickly forgotten. Hamilton's approach was the opposite: deliberate, permanent, and on paper. In Formula One politics, documentation isn't just influence, it's ammunition. A printed plan can be archived, circulated, and pulled back out when debates flare up months later. A casual chat disappears before the next race weekend. One Ferrari insider summed up the mood. Silence doesn't mean nothing happened. It means something big happened and no one's ready for the fallout. In the strategy rooms of Maranello, that silence is deafening. And Montoya, never one to soften his words, told Colombian media exactly what he thought. Leclerc's toughest challenges aren't on the track right now. They're in the meeting rooms as Hamilton weaves himself into the very DNA of Ferrari's future. For Montoya, this isn't about a 42-point gap or a rough Saturday in Hungary. It's about momentum and where it's building. Hamilton's 2026 dossier isn't just contributing to Ferrari's design process, it's steering it. Montoya pointed out that when a driver with Hamilton's stature commits this much effort and gets the engineers fully engaged, the end product inevitably tilts toward his preferences. History backs him up. From Schumacher's dominance at Ferrari to Alonso's influence at Renault, the pattern is well established. Once the design starts leaning toward one driver, the other is forced to adapt, like it or not. The contrast between Hamilton and Leclerc is already evident in the simulator rooms. Hamilton's sessions, according to engineers, are exhaustive. He'll fine-tune ride height tolerances down to millimeters, adjust aerodynamic balance for split-second transitions in mid-corner phases, and push for steering feedback maps that let him slice into apexes with surgical accuracy. He tests multiple tyre degradation models, experiments with extreme brake migration settings, and cross-checks CFD flow maps against live telemetry to confirm his instincts. Leclerc, in contrast, favours adaptability over micromanagement. He prefers to feel the car and adjust his style accordingly, rather than re-engineering every variable. That approach works under steady regulations, but 2026 will be anything but steady. Smaller, lighter cars. Equal hybrid and combustion output, no DRS, narrower tyres. The foundational setup DNA will be locked in from the very beginning, and if that DNA is written from Hamilton's data, Leclerc may find himself in a machine that refuses to dance to his rhythm. And the risk isn't only in raw lap time, it's in perception. In Formula One, the driver most in sync with the car becomes the de facto development leader. That influence snowballs, and right now it's rolling downhill toward Hamilton. What's happening at Ferrari is as much about politics as it is about engineering. In this sport, influence is currency, and Hamilton is spending it with precision. His private sessions with top-level staff, the delivery of a detailed development plan, and his ability to speak the engineer's language aren't just contributions, they're strategic positioning. He's not only driving Ferrari's car, he's helping to architect it. Leclerc may still be ahead in points and pace this season, but within the glass offices of Maranello, results on track matter less than shaping the identity of the next generation car. The 2026 build team will remember whose instructions were clearest, who addressed their design headaches, and who came with concrete fixes instead of post-race frustrations. Those small wins in the meeting room add up. Slowly, loyalties shift, authority consolidates, until one voice becomes the reference point for every decision. For Leclerc, the danger is that by the time he notices, the gravitational pull around Hamilton's vision will be too strong to reverse. A harder task than even winning a world championship. The 2025 calendar will wrap months before the real battle is decided. From now on, every race, every debrief, every simulator session is part of a quiet war for Ferrari's 2026 identity. Hamilton's blueprint is already circulating in departments Leclerc rarely sets foot in, guiding choices long before the first bolt of the new chassis is tightened. Montoya's warning still hangs over the situation like a storm cloud. The more Hamilton drives this process, the more the car will bend to him. For Leclerc, the threat isn't obvious, but it's relentless. By the time the 2026 machine rolls onto the grid, it could feel like a stranger. And in Formula One, late adaptation can be fatal. The silence from Maranello after Hamilton's confidential meeting wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. Something significant is shifting. And when the first active aeroflap moves in 2026, it won't just carry aerodynamic load. It might also carry the imprint of the man who planned his victory from deep inside the factory walls.